So for this week's collaboration meeting, we're going to be talking largely bigger picture regarding social media strategy for Elden Medicinals. So I think I have your Instagram up, and then also more broadly, larger picture around e-commerce for that. That would be the two main topics for today. So where do you want to begin?
Yeah, you mentioned that, so you have my social media, I'm assuming my Instagram pulled up.
Yeah.
I'd be curious of kind of like, when you take a look at that, what some of your first impressions, thoughts are, and go from there.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a pretty good candidate for it too, because both Bens are much more involved in the education and knowledge and the community of mushrooms. So I would be a good indicator of like someone who is familiar on a more surface level, and so of my initial interpretation. So I explained that just to give you an idea of like where I'm coming from as a viewer coming in, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So off the bat, I think what strikes me the most and what I've seen also so far when it comes to having a social media presence regarding not plant-based medicine, but like natural medicine and regarding health through fungi, it is very personal. So I do appreciate that like you have your picture up front first. So like you are the base of the brand.
And tell us a little bit about your thoughts on what you've been doing so far. Why these pictures? Why this angle? Instead of guessing, just what's been in your mind about the strategy so far?
I haven't had like a specific concrete plan, obviously, of like, these are the only kinds of things that I'm posting. Throughout the summer, I actually had a lot going on in my personal life, so I kind of stuck it to the things that I felt called to. And some of that is like, I was out foraging and I found my taki, or I was out at my friend's house and with her two little ones and found some maitake and got a cute picture of her and posted it. Or there's a turkey tail log. I want to post 4 easy steps to identification because I also do foraging education. Snippets of some of my events, just kind of helping to showcase and present like, this is what I'm doing. This is what this looks like. I would do recaps of some of my events, like Sam's Mouse is on right now, like the recap video. That was at an Earth Day event, and I was asked to represent and speak for Fungi. So it's more so just been kind of showcasing that. Initially, I had planned on doing a lot more product-focused things, and I hadn't, as you can see, I really hadn't even done that much yet. I've done some of that on my stories. Obviously, that's not here, and that doesn't stick around. I have been writing some plans to start focusing more on that, especially with my focus and everything. So that's kind of where I've been so far. Like that Tinder Polypore mini foraging series, I just went out one day and I was just being really successful and finding what I was looking for. And so I just broke it up into a couple of videos and did a mini series. It was a lot of fun. So some of it's been practice for me as well at the same time. Like I was learning how to make reels while I was doing it and all of those things as well. So just trying to gain some, I guess, just a little bit of like showing people what this is like from a social media lens as much as possible to the grander community. Because also it seems like starting out when I'm with people in front of people and educating about the mushrooms and products, they want to talk about the products, but I have seen to get more traction talking about these other topics, like something like this online, helping me get more of a presence than just like, hey, here's this supplement or here's this tincture and here's what the research says about it. Thus far.
So broadly speaking, I think there's a couple ways to go. One is on your personal passion. That's always a strong one in entrepreneurship because you've got to put so much time and effort and energy into this that if you don't love it, then it's just going to be such a burden and a chore, right? So taking it very seriously, what the things are that resonate with you the most is something that is often undervalued when people are thinking in terms of, well, how am I going to get the most sales or the soonest, right? And I know you've had some sales already, right? You're getting a certain amount of ongoing orders. So where would you like to focus if you could, not worrying as much about if this is the quickest path to money, but because you're really passionate about it, and then we'll figure out paths.
From what is being seen from your perspectives right now on kind of like, here's where we think are some, where we see there might be some gaps, whether that's consistency in types of posts, types of content, things like that.
No, I'm thinking in terms of making sure I understand your passion for this stuff. Is there a particular angle to the health benefit or the mushroom or the science that really lights you up?
Well, I like to focus a lot on the research aspect of it. So when it comes to like workshops and resources, I have everything cited and I'm openly sharing all of those sources.
Okay.
In terms of the health side of things, I don't know if I have one specific focus, as a practitioner. Like some doctors or some coaches focus on gut health and they focus on hormones or whatever. My ability to work with people is so broad in so many different areas that I really like showcasing what all they can do.
Yeah, that's the challenge. A lot of people want to show all the things about all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's tough to come up with a strategy that fits that. Usually it's easier to pick something narrow. And then as you think about it more, you'll realize how everything else follows and fits in. So try having the courage to pick something that's really strong for you, even though it could be a lot of things. Let's talk about it, see where it goes. And then I think that will help bring into focus what to do with all these different things that we're looking at here.
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind for me would probably be brain health, cognitive health.
Mm-hmm.
The easy part for me is like that. There's that reel right there, lion's mane healed my nerve damage. I had that experience where it healed neuropathy that I had going on. So, and obviously there's all the other brain benefits, cognitive benefits of lion's mane. So that's always one of my favorites to talk about. And I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying because I know how to tie in everything else into it. Like for example, Tinder polypore is wonderful for the liver. I know how to tie that in, how that helps brain health. Very easy. I mean, if you help the liver, you help everything. But if I was to choose one, it would probably be brain just off the cuff. The second would probably be digestive health. And I say that too because one, a lot of people struggle with brain fog, cognitive issues nowadays, and a lot of people struggle with gut issues. So I have a deep understanding of both, notice the benefits personally of both. Those would be my 1 and 2, I suppose.
I like the idea of thinking about neuropathy for just a minute, because that's something that you can speak to with personal experience. That's strong. But the words around that are broader in a sense that if we're talking about pain, numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, something like that, that's a symptom of neuropathy. Well, those are symptoms of other related things too, right? We're still in this broader space. We're not limited to neuropathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in this possibility of thinking of it from the standpoint of what people are looking for or interested in is probably at the level of like the problem, like pain, numbness, tingling, or the benefit about relief, sensation, about strength. Right, the opposite words. So let's just take a look at the things you've posted for a second. Sam, if you wouldn't mind bringing that account back as well as the website. What I'm looking at now from the standpoint is, let's say I'm a person who has that interest, neuropathy or something with those kinds of, that constellation of symptoms. From that point of view, what are we seeing on the social media site and on the homepage that tell me I'm in the right place?
There wouldn't be a lot looking for that focal point. There would be like that one reel that I had about lion's mane. I think that there's probably maybe 2, maybe 3 other mentions of it, but it's not a focal point of the post. One would have to go and read through the comments probably.
Yeah. Sam, could you go to eldenmedicinals.org? So right from the top here, the first sentence, our mission is to help you rewild yourself. It's a fun statement. I like this idea of rewilding myself. Rewilding myself, in my mind, is not very closely connected to resolving a pain. So what I'm thinking about here, when you were talking earlier about how you'd like to develop a bigger picture strategy, is around the point of view of certain key people that would be the customers you'd like to expand next. It does not limit you in any way to this for the future, but just from the standpoint of who these people are and what it is that they want, the classic, everybody's tuned into only one radio station, WIIFN. What's in it for me? So how do we get them to an answer that lets them know they're in the right place with something in it for them? So that's kind of what I'm thinking about as we're brainstorming some of these strategies about ultimately how to market yourself. But the marketing is actually something that you want and need to get to. But I think we need to lay out a few of these fundamentals about the who first, and then it'll be way easier to sort out the marketing. Usually what happens is when you start super, super narrow, you either realize there's way more to it. It's like way more universe of opportunity than you ever thought, or you quickly begin to realize how to bring in the adjacent things, but keeping the same structure. So let me let you choose here. Would you like to stay focused for a minute on the pain, neuropathy-like type symptoms? Does that seem like a promising direction, or do you prefer another?
I wouldn't necessarily want to focus on the pain neuropathy. Like I wouldn't want to make that like my
Again, not neuropathy itself, but those kinds of symptoms like pain, numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, like that kind of space of like, I know that there's something wrong, but I don't necessarily know what I need to fix it.
I would probably like I know I have my personal experience with that, but I don't think that I would want to make that the focus.
Is there some other problem space that you might like to focus on then? You
The
mentioned things to do with mental health or something else, gut health, for example. And
No,
don't worry,
like-
I'm choosing the negative right now, but we're going to get to the positive, the flip side of all these.
No, that's good. Like I don't take by just so you know, I want like open and honest feedback. Don't beat around the bush or any of that, or be afraid that I'm gonna get butthurt or anything like that. Like this is
Thank
what this is for. So just so you know, my mind goes to if it was to stay in the neurological space, pain point of like brain fog, memory, can't focus,
Mm-hmm.
or I would choose that over the neuropathy focus. There's the gut health aspect. I mean, I know that what you're saying here is it doesn't mean that you don't tie in the other areas too. It's not like, oh, I only make content, I only talk about this or that, but I have what I understand, I have a common thread that kind of leads through all of it.
Out of those, which do you prefer?
Well, my mind goes to, here's the thing, several of the fungi that I'm using to make medicine with are neuroprotective, can definitely help cognitive function, et cetera, et cetera. Lion's mane is the keystone in that. Every single one of them are, I would say, in many ways, probably equally beneficial with digestive health. I'd be curious to your thoughts on this. Like, let's say I chose the focus, cognition, brain fog, etc. route. Lion's mane is the number one there. I can tie in the other ones, but it's like it seems like, well, it's gonna make a lot of the other ones just kind of be separate. And I don't know if that's from like a marketing or business approach is necessarily the best either. Versus digestive health really more easily ties in every single one of them.
We'll come back to them. Yeah, no, don't worry. And I love all mushrooms and we're going to support them all. So don't worry. Okay, let's say it's lion's mane. I assume you've looked at other companies' lion's mane products, including tinctures or whatever's closest to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
What would it take to set yours apart from theirs? So if that was our challenge, to be the best in the world at lion's mane tincture, and that were the goal in the bar, what are the kinds of things we'd want to be able to say? So for one thing, if you have something special about the process you're doing to make the tincture, to do the extract, to source the mushrooms, that sort of thing, that would contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Another would be that a lot of these products out there just say, hey, it is lion's mane, get it. They don't tell you why. They don't really explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they don't make that the lead. Like they don't make it clear that this is the place for that. And ultimately that's what we're trying to come up with is various reasons that you can explain, like Elden Medicinals is the place for this right now. And again, we'll explain why it's the place for other things too. But if we had to do it just for this, what comes to mind?
Well, so I'm currently not one of my friends that has a mushroom farm business. He grows it organically. It's, the substrate's organic and everything like that. So obviously not USDA, but it's organically grown. I try to have as much wild forage as possible, but lion's mane is not, just simply because I don't find it enough in order to make the tinctures that way. What he does is it's a wild strain. He'll go out, he takes a tissue sample, takes it back to his lab, grows it from that, and that's the strain that he produces. So it's not something that he bought from North Spore or some other distributor that would be considered a commercial strain. So it's a wild strain that's been cultivated. I do like to talk about that because I think that there's potency in wild strains. And then I'm currently using soxolate extraction, but I'm about to shift to ultrasonic extraction, which is one of the best, if not the best, at least for now. That would be another reason this is the best.
I think that is likely beginning to add up, right? That you're able to say that other products are using a lower quality extraction method than what you're moving into. As to the potency, it's kind of like a cheap shot in my view. Say, oh, my product is more potent, but it's like, well, okay, then maybe I just take an extra drop of the other product, right? does it really matter if it's that much more potent if the dose size is just a little bit smaller as a result? You know?
Yeah.
And it sounds nice as long as you don't think about it. I guess that's my point. I'm
Yeah.
trying to help us come up with like really strong reasons, because again, a lot of the other products out there, including specifically Lion's Mane products, they just say, yeah, it promotes clarity, mood, focus, promotes health in some way, but they're not necessarily very strong in saying why us, why you should get it here, when nowadays there are actually a bunch of places you can get it.
Yeah, well, and actually, as we were talking, a couple other things came up too, and this is in relation. I get asked all the time by all kinds of people, is this product good? Is this or that? And sometimes I say that this seems pretty great. Other times I'm like, there's a lot of stuff out there that's not dual extracted, and so you're not getting the full spectrum of benefits. There's a lot of companies that are talking about this Lion's Mane product that they have that's great for your brain, but all it is water extract. There's hardly any hericenones, and there's no aranacines, and there's other compounds too, but those are the big hitters with the neurological benefits. So they're going to get gut benefits, and that might help improve their cognition, but or there could be the placebo effect. So is another aspect, is the dual extraction that not every company does. I don't know if I would want to harp on this aspect of like this, why Elden, but I'm using fruiting body only at this time. And that's I'm sure you're aware a little bit of like the big controversy with that. It was Paul Stamets products that was using mostly mycelium that healed my nerve damage. And that's because the aranacines are found in mycelium, and it's even more effective than the hericiums that are found in the fruiting body. So that will draw people, because there's a big bandwagon of people that like, I won't do anything if it's a mycelial extract or whatever. That could be
I think it's also an opportunity, because you can say something that's unexpected. You can say why it is you want this thing that everybody else is saying you don't. And it may be two different products as a result. One that's focused on the hericenones, the other one on the aresinines. And that's nice. That's an example of how we've gone specific and then found more than expected, right? That's sort of two products from one. Yeah. And from a marketing standpoint, it's different because it's different benefits you're speaking to. So I like that a lot. And I like that you're also getting into some of the reasons why. What is it underneath? Let's say it's on the hericinine side. Then this is beginning to frame the argument that you're making for why yours. So the benefit comes from this, and you don't get this unless you go with what we're doing.
As you are guiding me through this, there's I see this a lot actually on a lot of websites of like why these products. Sometimes you see the cross comparison. Sometimes you see tables of like our competitors do this and we do this type thing.
Yep. And as you begin to identify these differences with your products, and I would recommend very much making a spreadsheet or at least a document and listing out what that big difference maker is for each one of your current products, you'll probably see a theme that you can then celebrate as the top of website.
No, I'll definitely make that part of my homework to start listing that out, and even as it relates to each individual product. For me, the categories are perceived of right now. It's either the ones that are grown, which are the reishi, Lion's Mane, and soon to be cordyceps. And then there's the wild-foraged ones. There's two categories, and there's going to be some overlap, but I don't like the turkey tail and my two blends. Like one is a blend of 6 wild-foraged, and the other one's a blend of 3. I don't think I'm going to have a differentiating list between all of those. It's like wild-foraged and grown. That's what makes the most sense to me.
There should be something that's different, at least if you're still on the topic of why choose my product, right? So some people come to us as just zooming out for a second. Some people come to us as marketers, and they're like, here, figure out how to sell my stuff. It's just like everybody else's. Some marketing magic will somehow sell this, right? But ethically and just practically, it's a lot better when there's something actually about what you're doing, and we can figure out how to bring that out. It's just not a defensible long-term strategy to simply say, we're just going to be louder, right? Yeah. So yeah, what is the thing for you? And it can also be something about you and your story and your dedication that can add to it.
Yeah. Well, I think that my personal experiences and stories with them, front and center, is like my experience with Lion's Mane is totally part of like why Elden Medicinals, because I have this passion, this experience, and I'm trying to serve that to others. Something that I've started that I've been saying to a lot of people is just an easy tagline is like from forest to bottle. That's in particular to the wild foraged products.
Yeah, kind of like from farm to table.
Exactly. A lot of people go, oh yeah, I really like that. As soon as I say that, and it's nice, rolls off the tongue easy. So that would be another aspect that I would probably add to that, specifically for the forage line, of course.
I like that. Sam, could you go back to the homepage? I can see up here in the top or so-called hero section of your homepage, from forest to bottle as the big text, and then inviting people to maybe subscribe to your newsletter or something else so that you have some sort of so-called lead capture here. And then you can explain why that matters, basically, in the rest of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does this give you a better product than you can get from, and you know what the other big competitors are for this stuff, right? And just like look up their homepages, and the first handful of things they say, that's their claim to fame. So if they're not saying something, then that's how you differentiate yourself. You say, okay, here's what the others aren't saying, we're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's take a look back at Instagram. We could begin thinking about how from forest to bottle can be brought out in these images and what you're saying here. How does that provide little bits and pieces of support to that overall story? I'm almost there in my head about it, because I do recognize there are a lot of people who have that strong sense that natural things are safer and healthier. I think that's what you're playing on from forest to bottle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to see that strengthened a little bit more. I'm brainstorming. I don't have it off the top of my head yet.
Mm-hmm.
Part of this has to come from your expertise too.
Yeah. As
to exactly why forest to bottle provides more benefit. Classic argument for that, for example, with chaga is that it just won't produce the same compounds if you farm it, right?
Right.
How true is that of the other products that you're working with? Is there something along those lines, even if it's not that you can say about the lion's mane and how you're sourcing it and processing it and so on and so on, right?
Yeah, actually, so one thing that comes up is something that I've spoken to many people, workshops, and speaking to people about my products in terms of the wild forage through the forest to bottle lens. When one knows how to identify turkey tail, okay, there's a turkey tail here, there's a turkey tail there. They might be different colors, different ranges of colors. One might be growing on maple, one might be growing on oak. They've identified at least 200. This is just an easy example to start with. 200 strains of turkey tail itself. So while there's one, we wouldn't, everyone would just look at that off the log and say that's turkey tail, but there's different strains. And just like in marijuana industry or in other herb industries, specific strains are shown to be helpful for this, that, or the other. An advantage of forest to bottle is you're getting a wide variety of strains growing off a wide variety of different substrates. Part of the reason why mushrooms have their health benefits is because sometimes they're extracting things from the tree itself. Case in point, like with chaga and birch, it's extracting betulinic acid from the birch tree, which is really good for cancer and inflammation. So that's one of the things that I've talked about that I think is an advantage of wild foraged, is because you're getting such a diverse, like really full spectrum would be the key word for that people would recognize, benefit in terms of what that mushroom can deliver to you for your health.
Yeah, I think this is getting stronger, because you could make an analogy that you need diverse nutrition to stay healthy. Like, people take it for granted that wider variety of food is going to be better. Why shouldn't the same be true of your medicinals?
No, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, those are the same premises that I coach nutrition on. You can't eat meat and potatoes and expect to be, well-rounded nutritionally, for example. Same thing.
Yeah, at some point you'll get scurvy.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that whatever you're claiming there with that is the truth too, right? We're not just going to make it up that diverse source of the functionals or medicinals is going to be better. Like, the more we can find some credible support for that, the more you can back that up through experience and scientific studies and so on, better. But that would be something that we could workshop, I think, and make a really nice argument around, as long as that support really is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never actually personally researched that, and so that will definitely be an interesting rabbit hole to try and go down, because
I think it's fascinating, and again, it's almost newsworthy, which is even better for marketing, when you're sort of saying something that's counter to the conventional wisdom, right? Which conventional wisdom in this case would be your lab purified, isolated source is the way to go.
I'm even thinking, I don't know if I could jump in I would be
Please.
remiss, I feel like, if I don't. First of all, this conversation takes me way back. That I was very briefly involved in a sort of commercial strain isolation experiment for lion's mane a couple years back. But I wanted to just look back at this idea you were talking about, Tyler, with wild source cultures, which I think, first of all, is fantastic and also a lot of fun to isolate cultures from the wild, and it's very gratifying, just personally. But also, I think that there might be something to say about commercial cultures versus wild source cultures, especially because of a very recent development in this field. I don't know how many of you have seen the sort of golden oyster issue, and that I almost sense that points to a sort of sustainability issue with commercial cultures. I don't have that idea fully fleshed out in my head right now, and you were talking, Ben, newsworthy. I feel like there's also definitely something there from that angle that could deserve a whole discussion of its own.
Yeah, that's an interesting flip of taking the opposite direction of the commercial versus the wild. I am familiar with the golden oyster kind of predicament, and that my understanding it came from, obviously, was cultivation, and then it got out, and then now it's taking out all of the native oyster species. So
it was a commercial strain. It was a commercial culture that just, I've never seen anything so aggressive. They're all the way over by where I'm at, and the thing started trying to colonize my dehydrator while I was dehydrating them.
So I'm thinking of something along the lines of variety feeds vitality, or mix for max benefit, or something along these lines that then pulls that idea together that the diverse sources are healthier.
And that's something that you want to, of the two you mentioned, variety feeds vitality, I think sounds better to my ears. I mean, that's really one of the things that allowed me to dream, not to just, to me, it's not coming up with it. To me, it's, even though in this moment, I know I don't have science or anything like that that's proving this one point that I'm talking about, but these are the same principles in which I teach health. And so why would it be any different? And when someone is known in the herbalism world, if you're taking ashwagandha always and forever, which actually that's a bad example, because that's one of the herbs that you can take long-term, but there's a lot of herbs that you shouldn't take long-term, or that you can't just take the one thing. You want to vary it, even if it's a different herb that gives you the same benefit. You want to vary your herb and things like that. When it comes to wild strains, you're getting automatic variation in there. You're getting that rotation.
Yeah.
So same benefit with when you're eating from a regenerative source like Regenerative Farm. You're getting the natural variety. Yeah, that's definitely a big thing to chew on, as far as what would separate me, what would differentiate my products from everyone else.
Yeah, now you can go back and look at all the top competitors' websites, see if anybody's working with that concept. What are they missing? Again, double check the science, make sure that you got good support for this. This might be something that then becomes a strategy that pulls everything together.
Now we're at a place where you're saying it could be more so of that versus, at first we were talking about pain neuropathy. Then we move to cognition, brain fog, or digestion. So is this topic what we're talking about right here being the focal point?
This is why I said about how going specific first often helps us then figure out how to work out the strategy to come back to the broad. So the idea that the diverse sources, like from the wild-foraged, have advantages over single strain farmed, or whatever you want to phrase it as, this then becomes the theme that helps motivate why your products instead of all these other companies. And it's not just the fact that it's wild sourced, right? You've got an explanation now. It's that there's advantage to the diversity. The way you're saying it is in addition to and further separates from you, from the others, the mere fact that it's wild sourced. There are other places that wild source stuff too, right? But they may not have figured out that this is why that matters as a way to speak to people. This is helping you with strategy for all the products. But how does it come back to then neuropathy or pain or that sort of thing? Can you explain why this helps that?
Why, like, the variety feeds vitality helps neuropathy?
Mm-hmm.
It would almost kind of seem like a simple answer, really, because it's speaking in terms. I'll just speak through lion's mane. Is you're getting such a full spectrum variety of the different kinds of compounds and different strains versus one strain is going to focus on whatever its strong suits are. Like, you're going to get what that strain's the best for, but you're getting this variety of strains. Lion's mane is not a wild-foraged product right now, so. But answering your question, that would be how I would answer it, is you're going to be getting the best of everything for the entire variety versus just the high benefits of just one strain.
I would think another reasonable next step would be then for each problem that your products will help solve, like let's say one of them is pain, one of them is, what's the opposite of gut health? Gut unhealth. What's
Disorder,
the problem there?
Digestive disorder or imbalance, maybe.
Yeah, but what are you feeling? Are you having an upset stomach? Is it indigestion? Is it IBS-like symptoms?
Yeah, I would probably sort of more so focus on like the IBS realm of things, or I've worked with so many autoimmunes in my family. So that was like when I started coaching, that was my focus, was just like autoimmune gut issues. So it'd probably be more along the lines of IBS, autoimmune.
So I would list out as many of these problems as you can and then explain why variety feeds vitality is the answer to the problem for each. And this will give you lots to work with. It make it very easy for, be it your homepage or your social media posts, to speak to a variety of problems, but then keep coming back to your theme of your solution and explain why this is the solution. And that's why you're offering it.
Okay, so what problems do my products solve within the content and within like the kind of funnel of like, how does Forest the Bottle or Variety Feeds Vitality
yes,
achieve that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then again, to prioritize the thing what we would do next is circle back once again to the person, like the target audience, the persona, who is it that we want to focus on first, and pick one first, the others will follow. And then that helps us as we're just kind of, we're circling in, we're narrowing in on that sweet spot. And remembering the person, that there's always a human who's making the decision here, I personally find helps me evaluate what to say. You know, when you have a lot of options of things to say, like all these different problems and the answers. But yeah, this is getting good. So focusing on that person will also come into not just the marketing online, but also what you do with your time. I know you're thinking about going to some of these markets in person and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, can we give 3 or 4 of them names? Come up with first and last names for made up people that represent the people you think you're going to be selling to at these markets. We'll describe those people. And then map the key problem to one person, another key problem to another person. And that helps figure out then how to like actually wrangle this with what to say to them.
Yeah, I already know part of that because I'll journal on these things, and I'll be, I mean, obviously as long as I'm doing this, my intention is going to be as consistent with these calls as possible. So I'll work on those some more and flesh those out some more and have those prepared to discuss next week.
Fantastic. How do you feel about this today?
Good. Yeah, that was definitely a good exercise. You coached me real well through that. And I appreciate your process of asking questions to help draw it out of me versus, I mean, certain things you're kind of like suggesting and giving, but it's a good process and it's helping me think, and we're starting at a good place. I recognize as a good place to start. So I know it's not a click of a button and then everything works. So that's why I'm here. So yeah, so thank you.
You're doing great. You've got great information that you're working from. You're coming from a good place. I enjoy working with you.
Likewise. Yeah. Well, and thank you, Van, and thank you, Sam, as well, for your guidance and assistance today, too. So looking forward to more calls, and thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Sounds good. Sam, Ben, any last
Thank
thoughts?
you. Not for me.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk more soon, Tyler.
Bye.
Thank you.